All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Bryan, and I am the Youth Engagement Manager for CyberUp, a nonprofit in St. Louis. If you're not familiar with us, you can look us up on the internet at www.wecyberup.org. Today, we have Jason Scott with us, who is the co-founder of Cyberhactics and the cyber warfare operator for the 567th Cyberspace Operations Group. He is going to get into some interesting things interesting subject of steganography. So go ahead and take it away, Jason. Oh, we can't hear you.
I guess I need to unmute myself.
Thanks.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As Brian mentioned, my name is Jason Scott. Little bit about me. I'm a cyber warfare operator for the United States Air Force. Basically, what that means is I'm an ethical hacker for the Air Force. I'm currently serving in the Air Force as a cyber warfare operator. I've been in the Air Force for a little over 15 years now. And I've been in cybersecurity for roughly 5 years. Basically, what being an ethical hacker means is that I attempt to assess the security of Air Force networks by seeing how easy they are to be hacked by adversaries. Again, with the whole goal of making sure that any security vulnerabilities are patched up. So that no bad guys can break in. Some of the systems that I've helped defend in the past include the F-35 Lightning aircraft, the F-16, as well as the A-10 Thunderbolt. I really enjoy working in cybersecurity, so much so that I actually started my own organization called Cyberhactics. Cyberhactics focuses on developing cybersecurity-related competitions, for educational purposes and to provide STEM outreach. It's still in its infancy right now, but in the future, we do hope to make it an organization that provides a training platform for anyone who wants to sharpen their skills in cybersecurity. In addition to the Air Force and Cyberhactics, I also have a third job working for an organization called Alpine Security. With Alpine Security, I work as a cybersecurity engineer where I conduct network penetration tests on customer networks. Again, the whole goal being to provide recommendations to fix vulnerabilities and assess and assist with building secure frameworks for application and software development. So cybersecurity is something that's always piqued my interest, and one of the areas that cybersecurity experts should be familiar with is steganography, which we're talking about today. So what is steganography? It literally means covered writing. It comes from the Greek word steganos, English word graphy. Basically, it is the practice of concealing or hiding a file, message, or other data within another file. It allows individuals to covertly communicate data and can be used to bypass content filters or data loss prevention policies. Data loss prevention is usually a set of policies or technologies that are designed to prevent sensitive data from leaving an organization, right? So you might have policies in place if you have, a secret recipe or blueprints for a particular asset. You might have those. You might want to keep those sensitive files internal to your organization. So things like data loss prevention will prevent you from leaking those out. But as I mentioned, steganography can be used to hide information that you want to sneak out of a network. And before I go any further here, I actually want to show some examples, demonstrate what steganography is and what it looks like. So when we talk about steganography, we're talking about the way that it's done. One way that it's done is by changing the least significant bit in a file. So when we talk about hiding data within another file or hiding a file within a file, you're changing the least significant bits on the file so that you can hide data in the original file with just a little bit of the integrity of the file compromised. So I'm going to show you one way of doing that real quick. Let me switch over to sharing my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen okay? All right, cool. So if you guys aren't familiar with this tool, CyberChef, it is a great tool for playing around with cryptography, steganography. It can help you manipulate data certain ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show what it looks like when you change least significant bits on a file. So first I'm going to pick out a file. All right, so we're going to use this image here of this dog. And I'm going to show, as I change some of the bits, what it does to the original file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image and I'm going to send it to binary. What I want to do is I want CyberChef to take this original image and show me the binary for that image. So what you see in the output down here, hopefully you guys can see this all right. This is the actual binary for this image. This tells the computer, draw the image this way to look this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, remove this. I'm going to paste all that binary. Oh, it should have shown me the picture. Oh, let me do from binary. All right, so we can see it's taking this input for the binary and it's giving us this picture of our hacker dog. So now I'm going to go ahead and change some of the least significant bits. Least significant bits are the bits that are towards the right of binary. So for example, each of these evenly spaced out numbers is referred to as an octet. The least significant bit is the bit that's furthest to the right in the octet. The most significant bit is on the left. So I'm going to show you real quick, if I change some of these least significant bits to 0, you see our picture still looks the same. And this is what steganography is doing. When you're hiding information inside another file, it's changing the least significant bits to what your actual hidden information is. So as I'm changing these least significant bits, you see nothing is changing with the file. There actually is a change happening to the picture, but it's so small you don't recognize it. Now, if I do it the opposite way and I change the most significant bits, you'll start seeing some changes in the image. See, there's one, change the most significant bit, had a dramatic effect on the image, and that one broke the image. So that's why when we use steganography, it changes the least significant bits. That way you keep most of the images or the file's integrity while still adding a little bit of that information. Another example I want to show is how we can create a steg file from a Windows machine. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me see into my directory real quick. All right, so I'm going to use the copy command. And so when it comes to building a steg file on Windows, you actually don't have to download any new tools. You can do it with the pre-built, the built-in native tools to Windows. I'm going to do it using the copy command on a command prompt. I'm going to give this /b option, which tells it to treat the files as binary. And I'm going to say hackerdog.jpg, and I'm going to plus, or I'm going to attach another file. The file I'm going to attach is this secret message.txt that just says, this is a secret message, tell no one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say copy hackerdog plus secret message.txt, and I'm going to save this as hackerdog new.jpg. And there it goes. It's copied. If we look at this file, it's not showing up in here. I must have saved it somewhere else. I'll show it to you on my other machine here. If we look at this file, hackerdog new, it looks the exact same. You would be none the wiser if you saw this. But there is a difference between these two images. So if we look at this one and I see that the normal hackerdog is 9 kilobytes in size. And this hackerdog well, it's about the same size. That's a bad example. It's just because my message was so small. If I take off the H, you'll see, okay, yeah. So this one's 9,131 bytes, whereas my original hackerdog is 9,095 bytes. So that secret message was added to this file. And so one way you can kind of see if there's a hidden file inside another image is if I actually print out all the strings from this file. It's really easy to do when it's a text file because all it is text. So if I do something like hackerdog new, why is it doing that? All right, you're going to see a lot of craziness, a lot of the strings that exist in this image. But if I go all the way to the bottom, you see there's my stake message. Because basically what it's doing is when I use that copy/b command, it's just taking the two binaries of the two files and just combining them together. And then, and so with that being a text message, you can easily see it in the strings. It becomes a little more difficult when you combine two images or two files that are not text files because it's not going to be in plain English like this. And one example of that would be this example I have with this Steg06. So this is actually from a CTF that I built a couple months ago, but it's a good example for showing what steganography looks like. So if I do strings tech A on this steg, let's say I want to find out if there's steganography in this image. Whole lot of nonsense. And then we reach the end of the file. And you can't really tell where exactly the hidden information is. There was one sort of hint. If we scrolled all the way up back to here, you'll notice that this text here is very similar to the very beginning of the file. And that's sort of one indicator that we're dealing with two pictures here. Because here's the start of the first picture, or at least the header of the first picture. And then further on down, you find another header for another picture. And so one way that we can see if there's things hidden in this file is we can use a tool like binwalk. Binwalk is going to walk through the binary of the file and see if there's any additional headers in that file that would indicate there's another file hidden in there. So when I do that, you can see there are three sort of duplicate looking entries, right? We have this JPEG image data and this TIFF image data, and then we have another set of JPEG TIFF data. So in this image, there's actually 3 hidden images. So we've got the first image here, second image here, and then third image here. And so the image that we just looked at was this guy right here. So hidden within this image are 2 other images. You can usually use binwalk to carve out those files. For whatever reason, because it's a demo and things always go wrong, It's not carving out my files, because there would be another directory down here saying, hey, your extracted data is here, but it's not working. So there are more than one ways to skin a cat. So there's more than one ways that we can pull out this data. You can also use this dd command. I know this is super in the weeds, super probably outside most people's comfort zones to deal with commands that look like this. But if you do a Google search, there's multiple methods out there for how to solve steganography. So what we're doing here is we're using this dd command. And if you're not sure what dd is, I could go into it, but it's probably better if you just Google what dd is. It works with file systems and directories. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the input file is steg06.jpg. My output file, I'm going to name it, we're going to name this out. I'm just going to name it out.jpg because I want this to be what's outputted from my command. And then the skip here is telling me where, which line in the binary I want to go to. And so I'm choosing this 7819 because I want to pull out this image here first. And then the BS equals 1 is just how many bytes at a time. So I do that. Now I have this new file called out.jpg. And if we look at that, for one, you'll see this thumbnail on here that actually gives what the hidden file is. But if you open it, it gives you this. This is the actual hidden image. This right here is the thumbnail for the image. That's the third hidden image. So if I was to go and run this same command, but instead of starting at this 117819, I'm going to start at this 118003. Now it's going to output. It's going to output that actual image of the thumbnail. So in case you can't see that, it's just a flag because like I said, I built this for a CTF. So that's just an example of hiding images within other images. There are many different forms of steganography that include not just files hiding within files, but you can also hide information in white space of text. You can hide information in audio files. Within metadata of files. So these are some examples of steganography. So now let me swap back over to my slides. All right, so some of my experience with steganography outside of what I've just shown. Steganography, you'll usually encounter it and capture the flag events. There isn't as much applicability in the real world as there used to be. Most of the time when you're going to see steganography, it's going to usually be from like an insider threat perspective, somebody trying to exfiltrate information covertly outside of a network. Oops. It can also be used to hide malicious payloads. So you can use steganography to hide a program that's designed to open up a backdoor into a machine. The only additional thing you would need is another file or application that does not look as suspicious that's designed to extract that payload from that file. Another thing to point out too is that antivirus is pretty bad at detecting steganography. The best way, at least in my experience, when I've been on missions and jobs to look for an indication of steganography, is to look for abnormal file transfers, right? So if you see an image going outbound of a network and it's 10 megabytes or it's a gig and a picture should not be that big, it's usually an indication that there is something hidden within that file. Or again, if you have some application that actually looks for headers on all outbound applications, and you see that it has multiple headers that are not normal to that file type leaving your network, then that's another thing that you'll want to look at. All right, so what kinds of people are interested in steganography? There's a whole slew of different people that are interested. Most people interested in steganography are CTF players because it's a common theme seen in CTFs, hiding information and being able to discover that hidden data. But as I mentioned before as well, malicious hackers usually will try to hide payloads in normal looking files. So that's another set of people who are interested in steganography. It's the folks who actually want to get something onto your network that's going to cause harm, or get something out of your network that's going to cause harm to the organization. Some helpful websites and tools. So there are several training resources. Not to cop out here, but just Googling steganography resources is one good first step. Nullbyte has a good, or I'm sorry, Wonder How To has a good sort of intro training for steganography. There's a lot of good programming tutorials as well. So if you want to know how to use steganography in like Python or any other programming language, there's a lot of good resources out there as well. This one down here, this GitHub repo is a good repo for a bunch of different steganography tools that are designed to help identify steg files. So let me show you this real quick. So this is that GitHub repo. It has a bunch of different categories in here, but if you click on Stego, they have a bunch of different tools that are used to find hidden information. ExifTool is a tool that's used to find metadata. So sometimes information will be hidden in metadata of files. Usually hiding information in metadata isn't a very good idea because a lot of websites, like let's say you're trying to upload an image to Facebook and you have a hidden piece of information in the metadata, Facebook actually wipes away all the metadata. So it's not a very good medium to transmit that hidden information. And a lot of other applications do that as well. But ExifTool is a good tool for looking at metadata. Another good one is StegDetect and StegSolve. So StegSolve has a lot of good, it's a GUI tool that allows you to shift colors in images to try to find hidden data in the actual color palette of images. But this is a good place to start for finding tools for identifying steg files. Some advice for youth: become familiar with steganography tools like StegHide. StegHide is a very popular tool used to both embed and extract hidden information in steg files. Another great resource is CTF write-ups. Excuse me. A lot of folks will build steganography challenges for CTFs. And so reading some of those write-ups for how people solve those challenges is a good way to learn, the multitude of ways to uncover that hidden information. There are a lot of crazy ways to hide information, especially in images. One example that I would have loved to show you guys if I had more time, you can actually change the height and width of a file in the binary so that it cuts off. So you can show the first, if an image is 500 by 500 pixels, you can actually tell it to only show 400 by 500. And the remaining 100 pixels is where your hidden message is kept. And that's something that no steganography tool is going to find. No content filter, I don't think, is going to find. So there's a ton of different, if you read some of these write-ups, there are a ton of different ways you can hide and detect steganographied information. And ways to build your skills, play CTFs to gain some exposure to different types of steganography. As I mentioned, steganography isn't used a whole lot in the real world. And when it is used, as I mentioned, it's hard to detect. So personally, I think the best way to expose yourself to steganography is to play in CTFs where folks are building those challenges. And then there's a ton of good video tutorials on YouTube for steganography as well that will show you how to not only embed information, but also how to extract it. Oh, that's weird. I should have blast. But that's all I've got for you guys. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, my name's Kelly. One question, not sure why it's back. It's coming back here. One question I had is how is your job, steganography or cybersecurity, specifically used with aviation? I know that's a loaded question a lot, but just on a basic, how is that used in aviation in general?
So just speaking on my own experience, because I have been part of teams that have assessed aircraft. One of the things that we have done is assess the security of systems that touch the aircraft. So I'm trying to figure out what I can actually talk about. So for example, if you have a logistics system that's used to push updates to an aircraft's proprietary operating system or do firmware updates, if that system gets compromised, it could potentially infect the aircraft with particular malware. So again, without talking specifics, we've actually seen this in the real world where aircraft have gotten infected with worms, Trojan viruses that came from laptops that are meant to either grab statistical data from the aircraft or maintenance data. And so making sure that those systems are secure, that's where your primary focus would usually be, is any systems that have data that will eventually make their way to the aircraft itself. Any other questions?
I'll take another question if nobody else is asking any. So as a math person and in your field, what would you have wished your math teachers would have talked about to get you interested into this field maybe earlier than you did?
Binary math. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't even know binary math was a thing until I joined this career field about 5 years ago. So learning about binary math, other numerical systems outside of base 10. So hexadecimal, base 16 math. I would say those are the two most helpful forms of math that would help somebody trying to come into the cybersecurity career field.
Hi, I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, for being able to cut off the pixel size so that you can hide I guess what you're trying to do. What's the name of that tool to do that? I think you said HyperWidth, or that's what it does.
So, I'm sorry, what was the tool you said?
Oh, sorry, this is related to cutting off the pixel size in order to obfuscate the code.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a tool that does that, or is that just any kind of picture modification?
No, so picture modification software like Photoshop won't be able to do that. The way I've done it for CTFs is I actually use CyberChef. So I use that website that I showed. How do I get to that? I actually use this website, CyberChef. And what you can do is, because it shows you the actual binary, and it has the capability to show you the hex as well, you can go through and change where the size headers are in the actual file. So I'm not intimately familiar with every format's header construction, so I don't know. I wouldn't be able to show it to you right here with this. But with JPEGs, after a certain after so many bytes, it tells the image how large it should be. And so if you can get into the hex or even the binary and change that value, you can change how much it's going to show, while still the whole picture will still be there, but it'll tell the image where to cut off at.
Is there is there a tool that you can use in Kali Remix to do that instead of just using CyberChef?
Yeah, you probably use a hex editor. I think XXD. Let me see real quick. Where's my Kali? Oh, I must have closed it. Oh, there it is. So there is a tool called XXD, which will let you look at the hex of a file. Yeah, see, and somewhere in here is the actual width, height. I think, I know there's a hex editor in Kali, but I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. I don't think it's hex dump. Oh, actually, I think it's called hex editor. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a program called Hex Editor that will actually let you go in here and change the actual bytes in this file. And so if you were to find where the width and height of the image is in this hex output for this file, you could change it and then thereby change the actual end result image.
Jason, I have a question. Actually, one of my students had a question. You mentioned you could hide malware in using steganography techniques. How would you do that? Would you need extra tools? And are we talking about hiding, like, say, a virus or an exploit? Do you need further types of encapsulation? And are you able to execute that, or would that require another script or things like that?
Yeah, so speaking from my personal experience, there might be a way to execute it automatically from the host file that you're hiding the payload in. The only way that I have successfully been able to launch steganographied hidden payloads is through an external program that goes in, carves out that binary or that hex from the file. I usually encrypt it, so then it would decrypt it and then run it from there. But then you still run the risk of, if it's got signatures that antivirus knows about, it's gonna find it as soon as you pull it out of the file, or as soon as you decrypt it. So that's the only way I know of to do it. I'm sure there is a way to run hidden payloads. I don't have any experience with that.
But you could, but basically, you could send malware hidden without detection, and then someone else on the other side, say another threat actor, could execute it from there.
Yep, that's right.
If that makes sense. Kind of like, say, a Stuxnet scenario. You send it to the base, to their nuclear facility, and then someone there can actually exploit it.
Yeah, that's true. That's one way to stealthily deliver malware. And I would hope that in that situation, the organization has up-to-date antivirus and several other tools that could be used to detect malware or unauthorized software running on their machines. That's why when we talk about cybersecurity, you need a mix of both. You need both blacklisted software or file types, as well as a whitelist, because you want to make sure that only the applications that should be running on your system are authorized to run.
Right. Luckily, most people don't have those up-to-date things. Otherwise, we'd be out of a job.
That's very true.
I had another question. Do you recommend a CTF? Is there one that you like playing on, or
Yeah. So every winter, and I say this because it's coming up. Every December, SANS puts on their Holiday Hack Challenge, which is kind of a cool like video game style CTF. Where you actually like create your own character, you walk through this whole world. It's all playable from a web browser. And so that's a good CTF that comes around every year. You can also go to a website called CTF Time that hosts a bunch of different CTFs, usually every weekend. Every weekend, there's normally always some organization running a CTF. And then, of course,
I'm sorry. Could you write the name down? I didn't catch what you said.
Sure. Oops. Yeah, so somebody mentioned ctflearn.com. There's also, I'll throw these in there as well. There's hackthebox.eu. Yeah, Pico CTF is a good one. Try Hack Me. I can't remember if that's .com, but you just Google search Try Hack Me is another good one. Try Hack Me is really good for beginners because it has a lot of, I don't want to say all of them are easier, but it starts out at an easier level than, say, Hack the Box. Hack the Box starts out fairly difficult. Try Hack Me starts out pretty easy. Over the Wire, yep, is another really good one. That one is also really geared towards beginners because it'll start you out from the very simple, SSH into this box, and it'll give you the password, and then it builds in its complexity and difficulty from there.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Jason. When will you be holding another class? Because we got in kind of late, about 5 minutes late, and we want to make sure we get all the notes down and everything. We are an organization also.
So this is sort of a one-off, Queen, but the video of today's presentation by Jason will be available on our website on wecyberup.org and on our YouTube channel, which is also WeCyberUp or CyberUp. I can't remember. So yeah, that'll be posted as soon as the upload finishes when we stop recording.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody in the chat mentioned that it would be cool to see exactly how you can change the height and width of an image, how I just showed. So I'll actually go ahead and probably write up a blog on that so you guys can see that. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link into the blog site. Whoops. Because there's actually been quite a few people interested in how to do that. So I'll go ahead and throw up the instructions for how you can manipulate the height and width of an image in its binary or its hex to hide information.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions? I think we're probably going to wrap this up then. Jason, you are awesome. Thank you so much for such an interesting presentation on steganography. Very informative and helpful. I think that everybody here learned a good deal about steganography today. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to present for us today. Thank you very much. And before we go, I just want to do a quick plug for our social media. We are WeCyberUp on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook as CyberUp. And then we have a youth CTF series that we just started last month that is for middle schoolers and high schoolers. It's called the Power Up Cyber Games, and we are still taking people we're still taking registrations for that. We'll be doing that for the rest of the month. We got some funding, so we're able to increase the number of participants that we were going to have. So if anybody is interested in that, I'm going to type the email address into the chat, and you can shoot me an email at powerup@wecyberup.org. If you're interested in learning more about the Power Up Cyber Games, you can also just visit our website, and there's under programs, you'll be able to find information about it. Kelly asked, how far outside of St. Louis do you extend? When would next year's program start? So our Power Up Cyber Games is nationwide. We have probably 25 states competing right now. And so we are trying to grow CyberUp into more of a national presence and not just a St. Louis entity. So this program is going to wrap up in April of 2021, and then we'll get started again the following school year in the fall of 2021 in October.
Is this for kids that haven't started anything, they haven't learned anything yet, or do they need some kind of experience?
No, this is meant for beginners. The cool thing about our platform is there's a thing called a practice gymnasium that's built into the gaming platform. And so that practice gymnasium, the students spend their time learning and studying and practicing in that to gain the skills and to learn how to use the tools and to gain the knowledge that they need in order to be able to compete in that CTF. And the cool thing about our series is that we focus on one topic per month. So it's a little bit different from most other CTFs. Most other CTFs make you draw from a wide range of knowledge, which is a lot harder for a kid in middle school or high school that hasn't done this before. So we're focusing on one topic per month, lets the kids do a deep dive into it, really master that, really understand it.
Is there any fee for it, or?
There is. So our full price is $250 per student, but we're constantly applying for funding. So we do have scholarships on offer. Next year, I think we're probably going to focus our scholarships on Title I and all girls teams and things like that. And then if we have other scholarship money left over, then we will apply that to schools in poorer areas that can't afford to participate, or at least give them some kind of discount or something like that. And teams, another note on that, teams for our CTF series are up to 4 people. So you can compete as an individual or as a team. Does anybody have any more questions about that aspect of?
Yeah. Sorry,
Go for it.
I have more because I have a nephew and he's really into this kind of stuff. So the other question I have is that is everything on the platform, or do they need to install a VMware and anything like that?
Everything is contained in the gaming platform, which you access through the web, and they even have like Linux terminals built in, stuff like that. And we purposely made all of the challenges able to be played on a Chromebook, because we know that many of the students in the United States are now working with Chromebooks. So all of our challenges are able to be played on those. Anybody else? You're welcome, Michaela. Thank you.
Do you have other, do you do this like once a month, or is there these webinars?
Yeah, so I should have mentioned that. I'm glad you brought that up. I have 2 planned for January, 2 planned for February, and 2 planned for March so far. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter about those towards around right before Christmas. I'm going to send that newsletter out that'll list out all of those webinars that are upcoming with their Eventbrite invites and all the good information that you need. And if you will just shoot me an email to that powerup@wecyberup.org if you're not already on our mailing list, or then I can add you, or you can go to the website and you can sign up for the newsletter that way. So if you're not already getting the newsletter, then that's how you can get it.
That's great. I'd be happy to present too. I don't know if you're looking for presenters, but I actually work in the industry. So.
Yes, I'm aware. Yeah, definitely. I'll shoot you an email, Ben, and we can talk further about it. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed Jason's presentation, and do look out for that next newsletter coming out later this month that'll have the upcoming webinars for 2021. I can't believe I'm already saying 2021. This year is like gone by so fast, even with the pandemic. So everyone have a wonderful day. Take care. Happy holidays and all that kind of good stuff. And we will hopefully see you soon. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Okay, thank you.